What's up, guys? Hope you're doing well. I know it has been way too long to give you some encouragement and to give you some prime time, grind time. And you might have seen a post that I put on Instagram a couple days ago, and I talked about there's these two gaps in life, right? There's the gap that is to be grateful, and then there's the gap to learn from, right? And that, I think, is the key to living a happy / joyful life. So let me explain that a little bit. Two gaps here. If you understand this, I promise you it'll help you be more fulfilled and joyful with happiness in your life. The first thing is I want to look on this gap. So pretend that there's somebody behind me like 5 feet, right? So if there's 5 feet, somebody behind me, that is the gap of gratefulness. We all know what that means because we look back, we go through storms, we go through these different things, and we look back and we see where we were, right? Maybe 5, 10, 15 years down the road, sometimes months down the road, whatever that may be. But we get to that point where we finally get out of that storm, that challenge, that thing, and we look back and we're grateful, right? We're grateful for being able to go through that experience in order to get us where we're at today. Sometimes that's leaving a job. Sometimes that's going through a miserable job, right? Like I have done in the past, to get me to the point of where I'm at now, and I can look back and I can say, man, I'm grateful that I went through that because it helped me get prepared for where I'm at now. So that's the first stepping stone, or gap, I should say, that we always need to be grateful for, is looking back and seeing where we came from and now where we're at today. That is going to lead you to happiness because you're going to be grateful for those trials. The next thing is pretend that there's somebody in front of me, right? And now that's the stepping stone as far as being the gratefulness that we look past. We're grateful to get here. And then the next one is going to be, this is the stone to where we're going to grow. And here's the challenge that most people face. What you need to understand is as you continue to walk forward and away from the past and where you've been and being grateful for where you're going to be, a lot of people will get to this next step and they'll stop, right? Because they think they've arrived at their destination. They think that they've got to the place that's going to bring them absolute fulfillment, but it's not really the place that does that sometimes, right? We get to that place sometimes, whether that's a goal, whether that's a, I don't know, some people will have weight loss goals, right? I'll use that for an example. And they get to that weight loss goal and then they stop, right? But they don't realize that this is a part of their life now. It's a life change and a commitment now that they have to make in order to keep that weight off, right? So then the next step is maybe dieting. Maybe the next step is staying committed to exercising or lifting or whatever that is. That's just an example. But in the big scheme of things, let's think about our lives, right? We get to this one point. So sometimes it's in your 30s, right? We always talk about this, like you get to these certain seasons in your life, right? So, your 20s are the best years of your life because you're in college and you're building relationships and you're finding out who you are. And then you get to your 30s and it's like, it's the next season of life. It's great. Like think of these as stepping stones, right? As we get to these next things and we grow and we become better leaders, we become better people, because not only are we getting older, right, but we're getting wiser and we're learning from those around us and we're growing. And so I want you to think about the next steps as you grow in your life. So think about that gap, right? And you might have a goal. I hate the word retirement because a lot of people have asked me the question like, when do you want to retire? What's that look like? And I'm like, well, you and I might have a different definition of retirement. For me, I don't have this vision or this picture in my life of getting to a certain age and being like, I'm done. I'm going to travel the world. I'm going to do all these things, right? Like, for me, when I think about retirement, like, I don't think I'll ever retire from doing what I love to do. Like, I'm always going to be involved in some way, shape, or form doing things. Like, I never want to just, like, quit doing something and then just sit around and do nothing, right? That's just not me. Will I travel more? Will I, want to go out and experience the world? Sure, there's probably different things that I'm going to want to do as I get older, but I don't look at that as retirement. I look at that as just another stepping stone of where I want to get in life to help me grow and then go see the world and go get knowledgeable on different places and different things. But that's besides the point. what I'm trying to say is, if you look at these stepping stones and not as final destinations, but you look at them as far as, okay, once I reach this point, how am I going to grow from that? How is that going to prepare me for the next stage in my life, or the next goal, or the next thing that I'm going after? If we constantly look at those things to challenge us, to get us to that point, to surround ourselves with those people, to get us to that point, and then take the next step, you'll be able to continue to see the 2-gap process. As you reach that next step, you might look back and say, wow, look at where I was 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago. Look at where I've come now. I'm so grateful for that. And then you get to the next point of like, okay, what's the next stage? What's the next step? What do I want to do with my life? Obviously that's going to change as you get older and you do things and you have kids and your kids get older and they go out of the house, and then you're constantly reevaluating what that looks like. And if you have that mindset, then there's no unfulfillment as you reach some of those goals and those different things in your life as you grow, because you're not looking for those things to completely fulfill you once you reach there. And that's the problem that I think a lot of people have, is they get this end goal in mind, right? And as soon as I get here, then I'll be happy. But what they realize, they finally get there and then they're like, wow, this isn't what I expected. This isn't what the feeling was that I thought I would have, right? But if you have the different mindset of, you know what, I'm going to be happy, I'm going to be joyful in every day of my life, and I'm going to get to this goal. And then once I reach this goal, I'm going to ask myself, okay, what's the next thing that I want to do? What's the next thing I want to learn? How do I want to grow? As you do those things, then you find out that true happiness and true fulfillment and joy doesn't come from those things, but it just comes from doing life and doing it with those around you, and also surrounding yourself with those to help you achieve those goals. That is my prime time grind time. I hope that encouraged you guys. Remember, always be grateful for the gap that is behind you and where you've come from, and then always be happy and joyful for the next steps ahead and who's going to surround you as you get there. Love you guys. We'll talk to you soon.